Can you guys hear me? How's it going? How's it going, guys? Let me know if the audio is good. I always got to do the initial audio check. So if you can hear me nice and clear, just tell me that you can. But if you can't, then that's not good. Okay, looks like you can. Excellent. Excellent. Yeah, I don't get to listen to the entire theme song very much. But that theme song is so good, especially as it gets towards the end. When it starts to go like. Dun, 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 dun. It's really, really cool. By the way, that theme song was made by James Dahl Music, and it's great. It's fantastic. Yeah, so yeah, we got some stuff to talk about today. Wait, I thought I had. Wait, I gotta go to. What the heck? I had like a thing set up here, but I guess I gotta like. Oh, there's that. Not yet, not yet. And then I also had a screen share thing happen. I think it had to like reset it or something. Let me just redo that. All right, remove that. Yeah. So we got some stuff to talk about. We got some shows that I watched this week. You know, we got Pluribus, episode 3, and we got It Welcome Derry, episode 4, which we're probably gonna talk about It Welcome to Derry first because it's kind of like for me, it's personally a mixed bag, but we'll get into all of that. I know some people out there are really enjoying it. I'll just talk about what I think about it and all that jazz. Oh, okay. Hi, guys. Hey, everybody that's joining in the chat. Let me see if I can fix something real quick. Let's turn that down low. Just want to get some background music. Can you guys hear the background music? I want to keep it like not too loud. I felt like last time it was slightly too loud. I don't know if you guys can hear that or not because I've got it turned down on my end. But yeah. So yeah, this is the second stream. I'm planning on, I think I'm going to do more streaming. I think we're going to go to like kind of a, let me just get on full screen. There you go. I need a haircut, so don't judge me. Everyone's saying no music. So I think we're gonna go for a kind of weekly stream type deal. Okay, there's the music, but I want to keep it really low. So yeah, I was saying last week that I wanted to stream more, and that I wanted to cover more TV shows and just talk about like whatever I'm like reading or watching that's related to sci-fi or cosmic horror, and so yeah, that's what we're doing. I'm gonna continue doing this because there's some things that are out right now. Pluribus, I'm really enjoying. We're also going to talk about a movie called The Empty Man. Just let me know how many of you have seen the movie The Empty Man, because this is a really great, I feel like, lesser known cosmic horror, Lovecraftian type film. And people are always asking me about Lovecraftian type films. And it's hard to think of them on the spot, but then I'll like remember later. And this is one that I've wanted to talk about for a while. And I don't know if I've talked about it on this channel before. I might have mentioned it, but it's a really good movie. What's Pluribus on? Pluribus is on Apple TV. It's on Apple TV. Right, if you haven't seen The Empty Man, though, I know that some of you don't care about spoilers, so if you don't care about spoilers, continue watching, you know, whatever, and then maybe you'll still watch it later. But if you do care about spoilers, when we get to The Empty Man, we are going to be talking about, like, what happens in it, because it's, like, insane, and we're going to be talking about what happens at the end and throughout the movie, and yeah. So, have I seen the new Hail Mary trailer? I have not. I have not seen it. I did see that the trailer came out, but I have not seen it. You should do a deep dive on The Empty Man someday. I should. You know, I watched the movie again last night just to prepare for this stream, and there were so many details that I picked up on watching it again. And there's a lot to it. It's a really good movie. I'm gonna try and not say as much in this live stream, because I go back and I watch my old ones and I'm just like but for me it's just like a placeholder when I'm trying to like gather my thoughts. As I said in my last stream, like streaming has just never come easy to me. I've always been like kind of a nervous streamer when, you know, because you got the people, got you guys talking to me in the comment section, and then I'm also trying to pay attention to my notes, and then also not be boring, and then also enunciate and also not sound like insane. So you got to balance a lot when you're streaming. But yeah, like I said, we're gonna talk about It Welcome to Derry first. And so I'm just gonna cue that up. Pay no attention to these clips from Pluribus. Pay no attention. Okay. So, It Welcome to Derry. Okay, are you guys watching this show? Are you guys watching the It Welcome to Derry show? And correct me if I'm wrong, but I feel like before the show was just titled Welcome to Derry, and then at some point late in the marketing they retitled it to It Welcome to Derry. I could be misremembering that, but I don't know. But yeah, are you guys watching it? Because it's interesting. It's interesting, but for me it's personally a mixed bag, and I see a lot of people saying they really like it. But for me it's just like, okay. It's hard to kind of define to what bothers me about it a little bit. But yeah, we'll get into that. I just want to start off by saying that I love the idea. Let me just talk about, what I love about it. The book so much, and what I just love about the whole thing. I love the idea of the town of Derry as this haunted, creepy little town with this kind of secret. And I'm actually from a haunted little creepy town myself, right? Actually, my hometown, the town I was born in, is the same town where they film that show, The Vampire Diaries. And if you've ever seen the show, The Vampire Diaries, I've never seen the show. I've literally never seen that show, but my town's all over that show, right? There's the clock tower that's really popular in that show. That was 5 minutes from my hometown. This is the town that I was born in, Covington, Georgia. It's a creepy little town, and when fall hits, leaves everywhere. It looks like the idyllic fall haunted little town. And I would always see people doing the Vampire Diaries Mystic Falls tours. They would be touring the square and touring things that I'd seen my whole life. There was this little creepy little cemetery, I think in Oxford, that was a part of the show, that they would, I don't know, do tours or whatever. So I'm from a creepy little vibe town, you know what I mean? So yeah, that's just an interesting fact about me. So I've always loved the idea of Derry as this creepy little town that harbors this big secret, because I don't know, every town has secrets, and I think that's kind of the point a little bit. But I think that my ultimate problem with this whole iteration of the It stuff is the tone, and the vibe is just off to me. The tone is directed at a much younger audience, a much more audience that wants to see the CGI monster, that wants to see the jump scares, and it's not necessarily for me. But I wanted to say too, and I don't know if I'm barking up the wrong tree or if I'm thinking too hard about this, but I would love to know what Native Americans think about this, because I know that Stephen King has used in his older books, he's used the Native American, mystical Native American trope before. He loves also the magical Negro trope more in his older books than the newer ones. He's always done that kind of thing. It's not really in the It book. There is a hint in the book of ancient people's mysticism, right? There's the ritual of Chud that they do in the book, which is this ancient ritual that's supposed to be a battle of wills, right? Because it exists on, let's say, the astral plane, so it's a being of thought, and that's how H.P. Lovecraft described cosmic entities way back in the day. They're beings, their primary form of communication, their primary form of existence is this weird, it's thought, they're thought energy beings or whatever. So there's the ritual of Chud, and it explains how this ancient culture would battle this being in a battle of wills. So that thread of the ancient wisdom is there, but I would love to know how Native American people feel about this, because at this point in 2025, it is a rather tired trope, right? So they're essentially doing the Indian burial ground trope, which is what they would have called it back in the day, and that's obviously not a politically correct term. Don't say Indian burial ground, let's just say Native American burial ground. It's a very old trope. He did it in Pet Sematary. So it's just interesting to me that this is what they chose to emphasize and bring back, because it's kind of, to me, this cross section between noble savage and magical Negro trope. I mean, these aren't black people obviously, but It's like the same type of trope. It's like the exotification of like non-white people. Like they have to be associated with this mystical system. They know all the magical secrets of the land. They have wisdom that's beyond the other people. Um, so it just seems like a little. It's just cliche, right? I would. It's just cliche to me. It's just been done over and over and over again. And it's like the idea too that like we're gonna include Native American characters, but then like we have to have them set in this trope where it's like, of course, like they're fighting to protect their land. Is my mic too low? Okay, I can turn it up if you guys think it's too low. Yeah. So I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. I just thought it was just kind of it's just like a really old trope that I just wasn't expecting them to really really emphasize this. And two, I thought it was kind of cool. Okay, I will say, well, wrong thing. I will say, it was cool to see it coming from outer space, because in the book, it does say that this being it came to Earth from somewhere else. It fell from the sky, and it looked like an asteroid falling, but that's not really what it was. It's because it exists on a different plane of existence. It's from another dimension. It's like wishy-washy. It's weird. But I did like seeing that. But then the story that they made up surrounding it, I don't like, and I don't think it aligns with what I know from the book. In fact, I will say this. This creature, this whole iteration of it, from the movies and from this, is so much weaker than the creature as described in the book, right? So this idea that the Native Americans like found the rock and they carved it with all these runes and that they imprisoned it in this little area and that it's essentially trapped here. In the book, this creature, it like there's entire chapters in the It book that are from the creature's perspective, and the creature is not trapped. Like, in fact, the creature calls Derry its killing pin. In fact, the creature was there before anybody. It waited for people to settle. You know what I mean? It went there because it knew that one day people were going to come and that it would be able to feed. It calls this place its killing pin. This doesn't sound like something that's contained. It's there because it wants to be there. And it doesn't let you remember where it is. Like, it's actively protecting itself. So the idea that it's imprisoned, I don't know. It's just weird to me based on what we know from the book. Like, it's not imprisoned. It did fall from the sky, like kind of an asteroid. That's kind of correct. But like, I don't know. So when I initially saw the scene, I got slightly excited and interested, but I felt like the execution was really rather weak. I don't know. And they keep advertising Pennywise, like with the balloon. They always want to make it all about the clown. Still no appearance of Pennywise. I'm pretty sure the clown that they keep showing in the show is like a different clown that they're going to work in. So I don't know. The thing is, I really wanted to like this show a lot, and I think the show has things about it that I'm going to like, and the show has things about it that I do like. So I don't want anybody to think that I'm just being too harsh or hating. And if you like the show, and I think a lot of people like the show. I honestly think that if you've never read the book, you're probably gonna like the show. Like, if you like the movies and you've never read the book at all, you probably will like the show. But the thing is, I have nothing against the show. It's just it's made for a different audience than me. Oh, Quinn, what are your thoughts on the upcoming Apple TV show Neuromancer? You will know my thoughts on Neuromancer soon enough. And there's stuff that I can't talk about with Neuromancer, but you're going to know my thoughts on Neuromancer soon enough. But where was I? Yeah, I think that because I like the book so much, that I just desired a different tone. And this is going for a much different vibe from what I want. I would want something with a more mature vibe, something that is less shiny, less CGI. This feels, like I said in my last episode, like it's targeted more towards a Stranger Things type audience. And I like Stranger Things too, but I just don't want it to be Stranger Things. And I was hoping for more of a True Detective type audience, type vibe, like the first season of True Detective, right? That director was supposed to be initially the person that was gonna make the It movies, but I don't know, it fell through or whatever. But if you ever watched that first season of True Detective, that to me is what Derry kind of should feel like, right? It's more subtle than what the show is going for, and it's more subtle than the vibe in the movies. I was if this was more like a hereditary type feeling, you know what I mean? If it was more of a hereditary type vibe, even Ari Aster, then it would be, I think, more what I kind of wanted. I think if it was going for an audience that can handle more metaphors being thrown at them, then it'd be something more that I liked. But this is more mainstream. It's more of a kind of popcorn audience. I think, Marvel people would like this kind of stuff. And, it's nothing against it. It's nothing against it. It's just, it's not, I think, my thing, but I'm going to keep watching it because they are doing some cool stuff, and they are doing some cool stuff, right? And I guess, as I said before, I just don't like the portrayal of the entity. It's more subtle in the book, like the way it operates. You usually have an event, like a massive event when it wakes up because it exists on a cycle. And they mention the cycle in the show. It's like the government is tracking it, which is just like, what happens with this? You know what I mean? The government is doing all this stuff. Like, what happens with this in the end? Because the It movies take place after this. So I don't know. So when it wakes up, there's usually like a great horrible event that happens. Like in the beginning of the book, there's like a storm and a bunch of people die. And then when it goes back to sleep, then there's also like a horrible event that usually happens. And it seems like this show is leading up to the black spot incident. And if you've read the book, then you know what the black spot incident is. They're setting it up. They were setting it up in this episode. And it's just a horrific thing that happens in the past that like we learn about in the book. And it's just, it adds so much to, by the way, just read it. It's a really, really thick book. Like if you think that like the movies or whatever, and the show is whatever, the book will really, really give it to you. So they are setting up the black spot incident, and I'm curious to see what they do with that because it's one of the scariest parts in the book and one of the best parts of the book. But already I'm not seeing them. There's just certain things that they're not doing right, and I could see it going in a different direction that I don't necessarily like. But I'm giving it a chance. I'm giving it a chance. I'm going to watch all of the episodes. I'm not going to stop watching it, and we'll be back here to review it all, and we'll see what they do. But there's just something about the show that makes me mourn the version of the story that I had in my head while reading the book. So when I watch the show, what I see is very much it's filtered for fans of the movies, and I just can't really buy in. And what else could I say about the It to Derry show so far? I think the monster too, I guess I just said this. It just doesn't seem insidious enough. It's too present. Yeah, there's a lack of subtlety. In the book, right, the entire strategy of It, the monster, is to isolate the children. And it specifically goes after children that have all these, problems, family problems. They're not really being taken care of. They're being, abused in some way. And the reason is because it's easier to consume something, that's wounded or not taken care of. And that's something real predators in the real world do, because that's the metaphor. It is a predator of children. It isolates them and it makes them feel alone, and it makes them feel like they're the only ones that are going through what they're going through. And that's why in the book things start to change when the children start to talk to each other, right? It's a very different situation, right, in the book, because now there are other forces at work that are moving the pieces together, like the turtle being, and but that's really out there. But it starts to change in the book when the children start to talk to each other and sharing their experiences and realizing that they're not alone. That's what gives them strength and the power to overcome the monster, because the monster isn't just going around showing itself to everybody. It's concealing itself constantly. So I don't like the idea, like in the show and in those movies, that the monster is just like constantly popping up and going boogity boogity boo, doing these dramatic shows of power, leaving balloons everywhere that everybody can see. It's not like, oh, only the kid can see the balloon. It's like everybody can see the balloon now. So what is it doing? And that was my problem with the movie, is that like every 15 minutes, the Pennywise monster would pop up, go oogity boogity boo, and disappear. and then I don't know, it just wasn't. It didn't have the subtlety of how I feel like this cosmic entity would operate. So yeah, I just think they're doing too much, and it's personally not the type of horror that I like, and it's a shame because it's one of my favorite stories, as I said, and I just wonder what the black spot is gonna be like, and if they're gonna do a certain scene with a certain bird. I honestly don't remember the It movies that well. Those of you that have read the book, do they mention a bird? Did they mention like a big bird? Is there a giant bird at any time? Because the black spot incident is directly related to something that happens to Mike Hanlon in the book with a bird, and then it's like a hint that the cosmic being It can see the future to some extent, or that it's a timeless being. That's the thing about It too. This being is not contained in time. Like time exists in our plane of existence. Like we're bound by the rules of time, right? Stephen King does another book called 11/22/63, which is a book about time travel, and it's like kind of unrelated to It, except there's a part in the book where this traveler, he goes to Derry. He goes to Derry, and the time that he's in Derry, it's the same timeline from the It book, like when the kids are little. And there's a part where he goes, I think, to the Barrens, and there's like this pipe there, and he's looking in the pipe, and he can almost hear a voice calling to him, and it's the voice of the creature, the voice of It, and It knows that he is displaced from time, and it's trying to get him to come in. It's like, come on in here. Come on in here. Like, I know you're outside of time. Just come on in. And he can almost feel himself like wanting to come in. So this is a being that's like really, really insanely powerful. It knows what it's doing, and it's subtle in the way it operates, and it does not operate in the way that we can understand. So yeah, I just think the people that made the show, they understand the book to some extent, but then they also kind of don't. And personally, that's what I think. Why is the turtle so popular despite being hardly in It? Well, I think the turtle is all over the book, actually. And it's kind of subtle, right? The turtle, like, there's lots of times that a turtle is mentioned, right? One example that comes to mind is, I believe, Georgie. When Georgie goes down the steps to the basement to get the sealant from the boat that ultimately leads to his death, on the shelf next to the sealant for the boat is a little figurine of a turtle, right? And he notices it, and I've always taken that to mean that there are cosmic forces at work that are becoming involved in what is happening here in the town of Derry, and it's almost like Georgie has the choice to just take the little turtle figurine and maybe go play with that, or to continue to grab the sealant and go like seal the boat, and then yeah. So the turtle appears in all sorts of little ways like that. No, you did not miss the Pluribus part. We haven't talked about it yet. We have not talked about Pluribus yet. So the turtle is all over the place, and then but it's subtle. So I don't know. So that's why I think the turtle is popular, because it's like a cosmic entity and it's manifesting inside the real world. But yeah, that's it. That's the It show. We'll see where that goes. And so now we're going to move on to Pluribus, unless anybody has any more questions about it. Am I going to watch the final season of Stranger Things? I'll watch it, yeah. Stranger Things is fun to watch, I guess. Empty Man deep dive video win. We'll see. We're going to talk about Empty Man in a little bit. We're going to talk about Empty Man in pretty good detail here in just a second. And if you don't know what the Empty Man is really, really insanely good cosmic horror movie. All right, let me move my slides back to episode 3 of Pluribus. Someone says Apple TV does so much sci-fi these days. They absolutely do. And they're kind of nailing it. Kind of nailing it to some extent. So, how many of you guys are watching Pluribus? Is we all watching Pluribus? Is everybody watching it? Is everybody caught up? Someone says the Pluribus main character is a bit insufferable. I know people like them in real life, and they are not fun to be around. Well, she kind of is, and that's kind of the premise of the show. I think when I on Apple, if you like type in the show, it says something like the worst person of the world tries to save everybody from happiness or something like that. Yeah, she's a cynical person, and I feel like the show as it goes on, they're gonna get into the reasons why she's kind of more cynical. But at the same time, you can't really blame her for being cynical at this point because, like, her partner just died, or so it's a whole thing. Someone says episode Pluribus was a wee bit disappointing. Well, I think they're building up to something. So we open up the episode with a flashback to the Ice Hotel. You got Carol and her partner. This is like a flashback before the event occurred. And, they're just kind of at this terribly uncomfortable looking frozen ice hotel. I think they're just trying to get away. I don't know. But it was just another scene that is meant to establish character and meant to establish the connection between Carol and her partner. And then the next scene we get is picking up right back where the last episode ended. Carol's on the plane. Anna, I believe is her name, is there with her. And, Carol doesn't want to go to... They're like, oh, you can come up to first class. I'm sure you'd be more comfortable in first class for this, what is probably a long flight. You know what I mean? You're going from... I forget what country they were in, but they were like in Europe in the last episode. So this flight's like 10 hours or more. She's going back to California. So it's a long flight, so come to first class, but she's kind of rejecting it because I think it's just Carol's instinct to reject every single thing that they offer. Because, for Carol, everybody else, like the other people are semi-happy, but for Carol, like she lost her partner, right? They killed her in Carol's eyes, so of course she hates them. So Carol asks in this scene about the other non-infected people, the people that don't speak English. And a bunch of names are named, but then there's this one guy that's named that speaks Spanish. And for some reason, the hive mind was not aware of him for 33 hours, right? So this guy was off of their radar for 33 hours. So he somehow hid from them or something. And he just will not communicate with them. But Carol wants to talk to him. So she's like, whatever, call this guy. And he's basically, it's just like, don't bother me, leave me alone, you bitches, or something. He says it in Spanish, but he's like, don't bother me, just leave me alone. He's like not interested in communicating or talking at all. So this pisses Carol off, and whatever, she goes home. There's an interesting scene too where they give her all of her mail that was in transit, and in the box is this little massager device that Helen had ordered from her for her partner. And she's really pissed about this. And I totally understand why she's mad about it. Because they keep bringing up Helen. Well, also, they keep bringing up Helen. And then also, they are Helen. Because before Helen died, they absorbed all of Helen's memories. So, in a weird way, the hive mind is also Helen. Which is very, very disturbing for Carol, I think. So she's just like... Don't even talk about her. I don't want you guys to remember her. I'm the only one that should be allowed to remember her. So she's really, really just ruined by this. And I think she really, really hates the fact that, like, it's like they still have Helen, but she doesn't. And I think that the show might have a crazy ending. And I think I could be totally wrong, but like this show might end. And I don't know if they're planning more seasons or what, but I could see an ending where Carol willingly joins the hive to be with Helen. Because if Helen is still inside of the hive, that's like the only way that she could be with her in the end. I mean, maybe, I don't know. That could totally happen. I don't know. We'll see where it goes. So she's just like, you don't get to remember Helen. Never talk to me about Helen again. I hate you. So yeah. In the morning, they drop off like a gourmet breakfast for her, and it looks delicious. Like honestly, I would have ate the breakfast. They're planning 4 seasons, so apparently they're planning 3 or 4 seasons, according to you guys. That's crazy. So honestly, I would have eaten the breakfast that they dropped off. It looked really good, but of course she doesn't want the breakfast. And creepily enough, it's the exact same breakfast that she and Helen had at a B&B years ago. So she's like, I told you not to mention Helen again. So it makes her even more pissed off. They keep pissing her off by mentioning Helen. And she's like, just let me mourn Helen, right? Because it's only been a few days. She has not been able to mourn her partner. So, okay, this is my favorite scene in the episode. Next scene is when she goes to the grocery store because she's like, screw you, I'm not eating your breakfast, I'm gonna go to the grocery store. And I love this scene for so many reasons. This store is totally empty of people, totally empty of products, and the point is, I think, that Helen feels like this very independent person. Even though she's not, she had her partner, she's not really as independent as she thinks she is. And nobody is as independent as they think they are. And I think that is the point. She thinks that, like, oh, I can do this for myself, and I can go to the grocery store. And it's like, you can't go to the grocery store without a bunch of other people making that happen, right? Because we live in a society, you can't do anything on your own. It takes a lot of people to make the grocery store function. You are nothing in society without other people. We wouldn't be right here. I wouldn't be doing live stream. You guys wouldn't be listening to the live stream without someone. I didn't build this computer. I didn't build this desk. Like, I didn't put up the wires to the electricity and build the infrastructure. Like, so much about the way you live your life requires other people. So I think Helen is just like, she's been slapped in the face with this reality. You can't exist without other people. You really, really can't exist without other people. So I just thought that was a really good scene, and also cool choreography, right? This is why AI will never win, because this scene is so cool. Like seeing all these extras come in and like perfectly align, walk up and stock the entire grocery store. They really just stocked an entire empty grocery store on camera, and it's so well like edited and so well choreographed and so well filmed. So that was a really good scene. I really liked it. I think a lot of people are going to probably thought this episode was a little bit slower, but I think it's establishing some key things that make a lot of sense, and it's doing some interesting commentary on what it means to live in a society, in my opinion. And everyone's perfectly synchronized, and it's really cool. I didn't mention too that the reason they had shut down the grocery store was because it was to conserve energy, right? They wanted to conserve resources and energy. But of course, Carol is so like fixed in her mind. She's like, no, you got to do all this for me. I don't think she realized what was going to happen, right? Like, if you had just eaten the breakfast, it would require less effort. In fact, if they deliver groceries to your doorstep every morning, it actually would require less effort and less energy expenditure on a whole, right? So it's actually more independent to just let them serve you, right? You'd be more independent if you just let them serve you, because now, like, you think this is independency? It's absolutely not, Carol. So yeah, there was a really good scene. I thought one of the best scenes in the whole show. And then the next best scene in the show is when Carol is at home and all the power goes out because they are conserving energy. They want to be efficient. But Carol's house turns back on because they she needs power or whatever. And so she starts to get drunk, and she invites over Anna, I think her name is, the Raban girl. And she jokingly asked for a grenade. And she brings the grenade. And she's like, oh, yeah. And Carol's drunk, and they're like talking and like whatever. And she's like, oh, you brought me this fake grenade. But the thing is, the grenade is real. And, it blows up, right? It blows up the grenade. And I think this is really important. And I think this scene's really important. I think it's setting up something really interesting. And it really got me thinking. So Anna's hurt. They go to the hospital, whatever. And then Carol is talking to this guy. And she starts to really, really ask questions, right? And she's like, why'd you give me a real grenade? And she's like, because you asked. They'll do anything to make her happy. Absolutely anything. They'll give her a grenade. They'll give her a bazooka. They'll give her a nuclear weapon if she really wants. They have this biological imperative just to make her happy. They can't do anything bad to her. They have to allow it to happen. And I think Carol is definitely going to attempt to use this information to try and destroy them. And I think this has probably happened before, right? So we know that the Pluribus virus, whatever it is, has been transmitting throughout the universe for a very long time. I guarantee that this has happened to other civilizations before, because this hive mind, this being that they've become, is incapable of saying no, of not giving her what she asks. So, like, I mean, it only takes one person to destroy everything in this scenario. So it seems like that's what's gonna. It seems like, I don't know, she's gonna try and undo them with this. I don't know, not necessarily through violence, but she's going to use this information to her benefit. So we are talking about Pluribus, badass Dan. That's what we're talking about. It's a Apple TV show that is airing right now, and there are currently 3 episodes out, and this is the 3rd episode. So that's how this episode ends. You got Carol. She's like looking like, how could I use this information to my advantage? And we'll see where it goes. Like, this was a slower episode, setting up some things, and we'll see what the next episode holds. I don't really like to look at the previews for the future episodes because I like to be surprised. So yeah, what did you guys think of this episode? Looks like I got a super chat or 2. Oh, thank you for becoming a member. And thank you for becoming a member, Darko91. And Matt Zach says, give Foundation another chance. It gets better and better. I promise season 3 is spectacular. Pluribus is interesting. I've always planned to give it a second chance. I just haven't gotten around to it yet. So I definitely will watch Foundation again from the beginning and try and get into it. Okay. Someone says, watch the Twilight Zone episode, Third from the Sun, for clues. Oh, really? So is this related directly to a Twilight Zone episode? Is this like a remake of a Twilight Zone episode? Because a lot of interesting movies that you think, oh, this is a really interesting movie, it's like based on a Twilight Zone episode. I feel like that happens more often than you think, because Twilight Zone did all these episodes and they would do these concepts that were super groundbreaking at the time. And, they might seem dated now. And then a lot of times you have someone that has a new take on that idea, a new twist, and then it'll become a movie. I'm pretty sure, what was the Jordan Peele movie, what's it called? Us, was based on a Twilight Zone episode as well. So, if you've been enjoying the stream so far, please hit the like button. Oh, Matt Black says he hated Foundation season 3. Oh no. Well, we'll see. We'll see. I think that with my next watch of Foundation, I'll have the understanding that this is not an adaptation of necessarily the Foundation book, and that it's more of its own thing. So maybe I'll like it more. We'll see what happens. For those of you that saw Pluribus episode 3, what'd you think of it? What'd you guys think of Pluribus episode 3? Vince Gilligan wrote for The X-Files. It's interesting. Episode 3, 8 out of 10, someone says. Someone says this was a filler episode. I don't know if it was a filler episode, because I think it had some crucial details, like specifically the detail that they will just give her any weapon that she's asking for. I agree with you. It's holding my interest. But it could either get better or worse. So right now, I think in the next episode or next couple of episodes, this show could either get like really get really good and like escalate and get to the point, I guess. Because how long can we kind of meander on this whole like she's sad and she doesn't want anything they have to offer? We kind of have to move beyond this for this to remain compelling. Because I think a lot of shows these days will start off with an interesting premise and then kind of just like now we got to fill up all these episodes. So hopefully it keeps escalating and keeps getting better. Yeah, it was a slow episode, but I don't think necessarily a filler episode. Bryan Cranston was in the X-Files. Interesting. Okay. So now we're going to move on to the movie. Okay, so this movie that we're about to talk about is called The Empty Man, right? And yeah, I'm gonna recap the entire movie and just kind of walk you guys through this movie because it's so good, and I just want to like talk about it because it's one of the best Lovecraft cosmic horror movies ever. And I say Lovecraft is not directly based on anything by Lovecraft, but it's got Lovecraft all over it. This is real cosmic horror, and it's so well done. And like I said, you said spoiler-free overview first. Okay, the spoiler-free overview is that this movie is about there's a cult involved, there's a missing girl involved, there's some kind of cosmic being involved, I don't want to say too much, but that's the general gist of it. But it's a horror movie, but it's like if you haven't seen it, it's one of the best horror movies ever. It's a really, really good horror movie. So we're gonna get into it, and I'm gonna use my creepy voice. No, I'm kidding. But we're gonna talk about the movie. I'm gonna walk you guys through the movie, and it's one of those movies where you have to kind of decipher the events that have taken place. But oh no, did I just delete something? There we go. But it's worth it. It's worth it. So let me just move this over here so I can keep up track with the slides as we walk through this movie. Right? Got my notes. So yeah. Like I said, in a universe of, like Insidious type movies and Annabelle type films, slower, more thought out horror movies like this don't get a lot of attention. So I'm going to give this movie attention. So last week, you guys remember I talked about a movie called The Endless, and The Endless is it's on YouTube for free, by the way, the movie The Endless. Not this one, but The Endless is. And The Endless is like this fantastic, low budget horror, cosmic horror film, Lovecraftian. And The Empty Man definitely has a higher budget and higher production values. It's more complex. So I want to talk about it. So the film opens up in... It's 1995, and the Ura Ballet in Bhutan, right? And I think that is like South Asia somewhere. And you have this group of hikers in 1995, and they're exploring the mountains. And I took a lot of screenshots. And, they're exploring the mountains out here, and there's this part, I took a lot of screenshots, where they cross this rickety bridge. And I just wanted to say that I will never be this adventurous, right? Like, I don't do mountain climbing. I don't do cave diving. So I could never do this. But something happens, and one of them essentially falls into a hole. And this is exactly why I would not go. Because now someone has to go down and save this guy. And trust me, I wouldn't be the one to save him. But yeah, this guy goes down to save his friend who has fallen into the hole. And inside of this hole, this guy's just staring at the wall. He's just staring at something on the wall. And so the friend comes down and he's like, "What are you looking at?" And then he sees it as well. And it's this weird thing. It looks like it is human, or it was once human. It's a skeletal creature sitting in a crevice. Maybe once human, but now it's certainly something else, right? And so Paul, the hiker that fell, is just like catatonic staring at this thing. And he's kind of like mentally infected by this thing. And so the other friend that comes down kind of like looks at it and he's like, "Okay, we got to get you out of here." And so he takes him and gets him back up the cave, and they find this nearby cabin. And they're like, "Okay, we're just gonna go to this cabin, and it looks like a storm is coming, so we're just gonna wait things out in this cabin." And of course, in this cabin, they can't stay here forever, so they have to, either he has to get better or one of them has to go out and like search for help. So they're in this cabin, and essentially strange things start to happen. And also it's snowing, so they're kind of getting snowed in. This is just the intro, by the way, so I'm not going to tell the story beat for beat because this is just the intro of the story. We're just going to talk about the intro. So day 2, it's more snow. One of the girls kind of starts to see stuff, and she sees someone approaching the cabin, and he kind of runs at her. But then when she goes back inside, it's not a guy anymore, and it's just the friends again. So everyone's hallucinating. Supernatural events are starting to occur. So that night, Paul whispers in her ear. She has a dream that Paul is whispering in her ear, and that's important. I want to set up what happens in this opening scene because it's very important for what happens in the rest of the movie. So she has a dream of Paul whispering in her ear, and I want you to remember that he's whispering in her ear. And she wakes up, and everybody wakes up the next day, And Paul, of course, is missing. And they track out into the snow. They see where he stepped, the footprints in the snow. And there he is, just looking off of a cliff, meditating, almost like catatonic, like he can't move, meditating in the same position as the skeletal figure. And he's blowing this flute. They can't get him to move. And he starts whispering. Starts whispering as he was before. And then as he whispers, the girl who he whispered in the ear of in the dream the night before, she just snaps and she kills the other two friends. Kills them, pushes him off the cliff, kills the other girl. And then, as she's looking at Paul, he sheds a tear, which is very interesting that Paul sheds a tear. And she kills herself, jumps off the cliff. And then Paul continues to blow the flute. All right, so that's the intro. That's the intro to The Empty Man. And then the story jumps to present day Missouri, where we follow the character James. I don't really know how to say his last name. I have it written here because it was written in the movie somewhere, so I wrote it down. But his name is James, right? And he's kind of this depressed ex-detective guy who's grieving the death of his wife and child who died in a tragic car accident. And today is his birthday, and it's been about a year since the death of his wife and daughter, apparently. And so he meets up with... I took way too many screenshots. I'm so sorry that I took all these screenshots and I forgot to curate the screenshots. He meets up with Amanda, who's kind of like his niece, but she's really just a family friend. And she seems slightly strange. There's something off about her, but she seems to be trying to comfort him about the death of his, wife and daughter. And she's going on about how nothing can hurt him because nothing is real. She's going on about how she's found something wonderful and freeing, almost like this religious connotation, right? He says that lots of things are real, right? He says, what do you mean nothing is real? Lots of things are real. And she's like, how do you know that lots of things are real? She says that what starts in the brain, she says that what's real is what starts in the brain and then becomes external. She basically implies that we manifest realness, that our thoughts, and then she suggests, right, that our thoughts actually come from somewhere else and travel through us like a signal traveling on a wire. And he's basically like, I don't know what you're talking about. And so they have this weird interaction, and then essentially the next day she goes missing. And then he goes to her mom's house and he says that, like, okay, I'm gonna help you find your daughter. They contact the police as well. Yeah, this is what's in her room, right? She goes missing, and this is on the wall, right? The empty man made me do it. The empty man made me do it. They contact the police. The police essentially, like, she ran away. They're like, I don't know. She probably got mad at you and ran away because that's what the cops do in movies like this. They're like, oh, she obviously ran away. We're not gonna do anything about this. So our main character, James, has to take it into his own hands, and he's going through his stuff, trying to investigate. Basically, she's involved with some weird cult, but the clues are very vague right now. He doesn't know what's really happening. So he has to go to her school, and he meets up with one of her friends who basically tells him the gist of what was going on. And she says that he had heard from the mom, too, that the girl that went missing had a panic attack at the school the other day. But then he asked her friend, he's like, oh, so I hear she had a panic attack, and she was having a panic attack. And she says, no, she wasn't having a panic attack. She was screaming, which has a very obviously negative connotation, right? It implies something different than having just a regular panic attack. So she basically says that there is a rumor going around, or kind of an urban legend, that if you go to this bridge late at night and you find an empty bottle, and you think about him, then something will happen. And she says that she and Amanda and some friends actually tried this the other night. They went to a bridge. And while they were there, basically, Amanda suggested they play this little game, that they blow into the bottle and they think about something called the empty man. She says we should call the empty man, blow in a bottle, and think about him. And so Amanda, they all do it, they all blow in the bottle, and then Amanda sits on the bridge, crisscross, just like the skeletal figure from before, just like Paul, and she's chanting. She's like, the empty man, the empty man, the empty man, the empty man. And right? And so they all begin to hear something. Something is approaching them on the bridge. Something is approaching, so they all basically run. They're all like fucking, they're freaked out to the max and they run. Take off running. All right. So essentially, that's what happened. And then also James asks the friend Devara when it's the last time she saw Amanda, and this is an important detail as well. She says the last time she saw Amanda, she just happened to see her at the mall, and she was whispering to another one of the friends that was at the bridge. I think this friend is named Brandon. So she says the last time I saw her, she was whispering in Brandon's ear, and I don't know why, but that's what was happening. And she's whispering in Brandon's ear, if you remember, the same way that Paul in the beginning of the movie was whispering in the other girl's ear, the one that killed the other friend. So that's what she was doing. Let's see where we are. Okay. So that's what happened, and more creepy events. James actually goes to Brandon's house, and Brandon's dad is here, and he's like, I don't know where Brandon is. I haven't seen Brandon. He's like, I don't know where Brandon is. Brandon is missing as well. And so he's looking around, and he goes, oh, sorry, dead dog. He's looking around. He basically goes to all of the friends' houses.
This is a reminder. Drink creatine and eat vitamins.
Leave me alone. You don't tell me what to do. So basically, he goes to all the other friends' houses, and they're all missing. Like, this one is like really weird because like they clearly haven't been there for a very long time. Like, the dog is dead. It's like super weird. And eventually he goes back to the bridge itself, and he himself blows into a bottle. It's during the daytime, so nothing really happens. So he blows into the bottle, he goes to the bridge just to investigate, like, what happened to these kids. Is there something really going on with this bridge and this idea of like blowing into a bottle and thinking of the empty man? So he goes there and he does it for himself, as a real detective would do. And he sees that there is an open, like, what are they called? Like pothole? I forget what they're called. Those things in the road. It's open. So he goes down and he climbs down, and underneath the bridge. What's under the bridge? The hanging bodies of Amanda's friends, except Devara. But don't worry, Devara gets killed later on. She is attacked by something in the shower. And then, from her perspective, she's attacked. And then from your perspective, she's like just like killing herself. So there's something at work here. It's not clear if it's like the work of the cult or if there's something more insidious going on here. He goes to the cops, obviously, and then the cop basically says that don't worry about it. Stuff like this happens all the time, and it's manhole. That's what it's called. The cop is like, this stuff happens all the time. It's unexplainable why it happens. But the cop also does mention there have been strange events that reference something called the empty man, and he doesn't really know what it is, but there have been other events that have occurred that reference the empty man. All right, guys, tell me how I'm doing here. Am I doing good describing the movie? Is there a way I could do this better? Because I think I took too many screenshots, and I don't want to. Are you guys enjoying this? Is this fun? Is this fun? Or am I like talking in circles? Are you guys following me here? You guys following what I'm doing? Or I'm overthinking it? Okay, we're doing good. So basically the cop is like, yeah, there were events mentioning this empty man, but it's just crazy stuff. People are crazy. There's really no way that we can explain like why people do stuff like this or like why it happens. So the cop is just kind of like resigned, and he's like, this is the world that we live in. People are crazy. And I think this relates to what the empty man represents ultimately, but we'll get into that once we get to the end of the movie. So we're about to get to the really interesting part. And the really interesting part is when he starts to research the cult, right? The Pontifex Society, and he's looking at all these Wikipedia pages, Googling words like tulpa. He's doing his research. He's doing his research. Manifestations, phantoms, and there's all this weird stuff. Thought, concentration, time equals flesh. It's like what he's doing his research, and something begins to affect him at night. It seems like it's affecting him now, and he's like hallucinating and maybe seeing stuff, having an idea that someone's in his house at night, yada yada yada. Typical horror movie stuff. Like someone's in my house. I don't know. The door is open. Yada yada yada. What gets really interesting is when he goes to visit the cult. And it kind of has a Scientology vibe. And they claim that the empty man is real, right? He listens to this guy's speech, right? And they claim that the empty man is real. So let me I have it written down what the guy says, basically. So we're just going to get to the scene. This is such an interesting scene. I'm just going to read what I have written here. So essentially, right, the empty man, according to this cult, is a meditation. It's a focal point of targeted manifestation of hidden energy. All right, follow me here. So just as human men, as we feed from the biosphere, you know, we feed and are fed by the biosphere, just like the environment that we live in. Thoughts feed and are fed by something called the noosphere. And the noosphere is the sum of all conscious thought, right? Which is transmissible through stimulation and the application of certain vectors, or so he says. So it's very much like a virus. You can't see it. So the empty man is like, it's like the veil between form and flesh, the means by which it can be pierced, and then like the two allowed to commingle. So through the empty, it's a psycho talk, right? It's babbly talk, but it actually kind of makes sense once you like hear it enough, and it will start to make sense as you see the movie. Basically, the empty man is like this ritual by which they can communicate with the realm of thought, right? And this guy makes this point, right? And this is really interesting to me. So you ever like say like a name or a word so many times that it becomes gibberish? Like you say your name over and over again and it starts to become weird, right? He implies that the same is true for entire bodies of thought. He mentions the Nietzsche line, if you stare into the abyss and the abyss stares back at you, right? If you stare into the abyss stares back at you. And he says that this phrase has become meaningless because of so much repetition. It's harmless now. But when is the last time that you've really, really, really thought about that phrase? And thought, like, what is an abyss? And if you stare into it, why are you staring into the abyss? What about it calls to you? And if it calls to you, and then it stands to reason that something in you must be calling to it as well. And he says that's not harmless. So he brings up the question, like, if profound meaning can be robbed by repetition, which is more fundamental, which is more true, like the name or the gibberish? And he basically says that is the empty man. So that'll make more sense later. So yeah, this guy's super weird. He's kind of like the cult leader, and he's like, I don't know, there's something weird going on here. So James starts to wander around this cult building, and he sees different groups of people doing various rituals, chanting about how nothing exists. And he eventually sees this other circle of people like way down in the depths. And this scene's interesting, and it makes more sense later. And he discovers them talking, and they basically say, is someone there? If you're there, like, make a noise or something. And then right as they say that, like, he makes a noise, and then suddenly someone catches him in there, and they turn on the light, and he like appears, and then they can see them, and it's like kind of creepy, whatever. Then he goes outside, and he sees one of the guys that he had seen inside of the building, and this guy is interesting because he tells him that Amanda, that she's still alive and that she's just elsewhere, whatever that means. And he tells him that, hey, you can go look in this place, but be careful, like it's dangerous. So he gives him instructions on where to go, and it's like this cabin in the woods. So James, of course, goes to this cabin. You get this cute little Shining-esque shot. Whenever I see a shot like this, that's like a top-down shot of someone driving through the woods, it's The Shining to me. Like, everyone does that because of The Shining, in my opinion. So he drives down to this cabin in the woods. He starts to go through files. And I think it's really interesting when he goes through files because it says a lot. And he finds files on Amanda and all of Amanda's friends. And then he also sees a file that has his own name. And when he opens the file that has his own name, can you imagine what's in the file? Care to guess? The file is empty. And he also discovers other stuff in the cabin, like old VHS tapes with recordings of really bizarre rituals that happened in that same room. So they've done some weird stuff here. So he's like, okay, whatever, I'm leaving. And this is one of the best scenes in the movie. He walks outside and he starts walking around the woods. And in this field, there's this group of people in a circle, running in a circle, chanting around this pillar of fire. And he's just like, what the hell? And as he's watching, this pillar of fire starts to rise higher and higher and higher into the sky, as if it's being pulled up by some like force. And he's just like, oh yeah, in this scene it's really cool because the implication here is too, we talked about the endless and how we talked about that last movie and how like in places where these beings can be reached, or the cosmic entities, it's usually a place where like the veil begins to thin for whatever reason. And the way this scene is kind of shot and filmed, it's like reality is becoming unraveled in this moment. Like something is changing and he's being affected by the ritual that they're doing. And so he's like, whatever, I'm gonna leave. And like right as he turns away, the lights go out and they all notice him. Like at once. Like they all notice him at once. And as he takes a step back, they all move towards him in unison. Like pitch black. And then as he runs, they all start running. And they chase him through the woods. And it's just like, what in the hell? And he like manages to escape. Okay. And so after this, he goes back to the police, but they're not willing to help. And he's like, whatever, I'm going to get ready to deal with this myself. And someone drops like he's being taunted. People are leaving stuff on his doorstep. It's the same bear. You might think it's corny, Octopus. Watch the movie, Octopus. It's not corny. It's freaky. That scene's definitely freaky. But like someone leaves the bear from the cabin on his doorstep is the whole thing. So day 3 of all these events happening, right? He starts to trail some of the cult members. He starts to trail them to see what they're doing in their lives, right? So he's driving around, following them. It leads to a hospital, and there's a pretty dramatic turn here that makes things start to click into place when we see what's in the hospital. So he follows them in, and he sees that they go into this room, and there's this old man. It looks like he's dying, and they kneel before him. They kneel before this guy. Do you recognize him? This guy is Paul. This guy's Paul from the beginning of the movie. The guy that fell in the hole. The guy that became catatonic. The guy that whispered in the girl's ear. The guy that was crisscrossed watching his friends get killed, that shed a tear. This is Paul. He's still alive and he's here. What is this cult doing? So he sees that and he's like, who is this guy? He needs to do more research. Let's see where we are. So he does research by kidnapping the guy that led him to the cabin and just being like, what the hell is going on? You're going to tell me what's going on right now or I'm going to kill you. And he tells him what's going on. He basically says that this person, he doesn't know who he is, but he's like an antenna. The guy in the hospital bed is like an antenna. and he's tuned to a frequency that they can only get through him. He transmits and they receive. And he says, thought is communicable. Thought is transmittable. And he says, oh, this is the best part. He says, the noosphere is not just human consciousness. The noosphere is the sum of all consciousness. Other minds are also there, ancient and angry. And he says, you get glimpses of them in your dreams. He says that all nightmares are really just peeks into other realms of existence. They're all real. And he says that once in a while, every thousand of years or so, there's a man, like the prophet of the other. The one, and the other is the in-between one, or whatever that is. And he says, the in-between one, the other, he needs an empty man to be the bridge to the rest of the world. And when the other comes, that he erases all boundaries. The only reality there is that no reality exists except for him, the other. And he says endless black chaos, and he says that things are going to be a bloodbath. And, you know, if you've read H.P. Lovecraft, if you've read The Call of Cthulhu, you know that this is very Lovecraftian, right? In The Call of Cthulhu, the cult talks about, like, when Cthulhu reawakens and re-enters the world, that it'll be chaos and blood and just like death, and it'll just be like this crazy new world of just hedonism and just crazy shit happening. So that's basically what he's saying. So yeah, he gets him to tell him what's up, and that's what the empty man is. So he like leaves, and he's like, whatever. So he goes back to the cult. He finds more files. He finds pictures of like the Paul guy in bed, and basically, and then he finds his own file. He finally finds his own file, and his file is like full of concepts. You can see it says former policeman, widower, and it's got like these news clippings. Hero cop, family dies in accident, but it's not a picture of him, right? It's like all of these concepts, right? That if you took all of these pictures and news clippings and all these ideas about a person, and you fed it into AI, if you wanted to build a person, that's what this would be. Like all these concepts of a man, all these concepts of a person that would be used to build a person. You know what I'm saying? And he's like, what is this? He's like, what is this? He doesn't really understand. So he goes back to the hospital and he asks about Paul. And the nurse is extremely creepy. And she says that people visit this Paul guy all the time. And she says, you can go in the room too, just go visit him. And guess who's in the room with him? This is the big reveal of the movie. It's right at the end. In the room is Amanda, the missing girl. She says that this man, she doesn't know who he is, but he's the carrier. He transmits, they receive, and the message is contagious. And so at this point, he's calling Amanda's mom, and he's like, I found Amanda. And then Amanda's mom is like, who are you? Amanda's mom has no idea what he's talking about. And Amanda's mom has been in this entire movie. Like, he's been helping her try to find her daughter, and she has no idea what he's talking about. She's like, you've got the wrong number. And so Amanda keeps talking, and she's like, Paul is weakening. The carrier is weakening because there's only so long the human body can withstand this kind of power. She says they need a replacement. And she says that Paul had been the first carrier in 500 years. The skeletal being they had found in that cave had been there for 500 years. But the cult didn't have time this time. They didn't have time to wait another 1,000 years. They didn't have time to wait 500 years. Again, so what did they do? What did they do? They did something radical. They decided to make a carrier. Poor James is the carrier. Everything about him was created by the cult. Everything that he thinks he knows about himself was put together by them. He was never real. He was manifested. He was born 3 days ago. That's why it was his birthday in the beginning of the movie. That was his first day in existence. The cult created him. They created an empty man. They manifested him. That was the whole point of the movie. That's what the movie's been saying the entire time. He is their tulpa, and they talk about this being called a tulpa the whole time. That's what the carrier is. They conjured him through thought. And lots of times in this movie, you witness him walking up to like a cult ritual, right? You witness him walking up to a cult ritual like earlier. He walks those people in the circle and they're like, oh, someone's here, make a noise. It was him. That was part of them conjuring him into existence. That's why he makes the noise when they ask him to make the noise. That's why they turn on the lights and then he's there, because they were conjuring him. So, and also they needed the pain of his life. They needed him to have a tragic life, because they say something like, we tried it once before, but we didn't have the element. We needed fear. They needed to give him fear and grief and tragedy. That's why he had this life of his whole family dying, because that was the key. And that should be a hint that this other being, whatever it is evil, but they don't realize it, obviously, because the cult never realizes that they're waking up something evil. So all of his memories, his personality, his trauma, his identity, it's all artificial, planted to give him motivation that would loop him right back into the cult. So all of it was manifested by them. He was created to replace a dying host. See this scene here? They revisit this scene and then they show like what really happened, which was like they were conjuring him. And right at the end, he comes face to face with the empty man, and finally the empty man fully possesses him. He's possessed. Oh, look at that. Look how cool that looks. Look at the tentacles. You see that? That's very Lovecraftian. I didn't have time to really look at these screenshots, but yeah, the possession is really cool the way they did it. And so, yada, yada, yada. Let's get past all of this. He goes back into the hospital. He kills the old carrier. And the people in the hospital are obviously all part of it. They're all members of the cult. They bow before him. The new empty man has awakened. Manifested. Because the human body couldn't last long, so they had to manifest a new empty man. And so that's the twist of the movie, and that's basically the ending of the movie. I really enjoy this movie. Even if you haven't seen it and you just watched me like basically describe the entire story, it's still worth the watch, because it is one of the best, cosmic horror movies, and it's got that great twist at the end. But if you go back and watch it again after knowing the twist, you can really see all the threads of the twist throughout the entire movie, and it is handled so well. They do it so effectively. It feels really, really good to watch at the end. Oh, you guys like my shirt? Thank you. So this movie is definitely a hidden gem. Very philosophical, very psychological, drama, horror, or whatever. It's not really drama, but psychological horror. Someone says, speaking of which, have you watched Hereditary? I will say the ending does make you think of Hereditary. So The Empty Man was 2020, and Hereditary was 2018. So yeah, maybe a little bit of inspiration from Hereditary with the ending for sure. But it's definitely different enough. It's very different from Hereditary, so it's just it's so good. I agree, Carl, because the great twist movies are better the second time, because you can appreciate how slick the storytelling is throughout the movie. Yeah, the entire time, everything from this movie, everything in this movie is hinting at the ending from the very beginning. The fact that it's his birthday when the movie begins, because yeah, it's literally your birthday. And there's also plot points that I haven't really mentioned the entire time that make it just even crazier. The missing girl, Amanda, was obviously crucial in the creation of the tulpa. She was obviously crucial in the manifestation, and it's almost like she was leading it in a way, because she understood that he needed guilt, he needed grief and pain. So when they manifested him, she made it so that he had an affair with her mother, which is insane, on the night that his family died, so that he felt guilty about not being with his family and protecting them. So she did that because they needed the pain and the guilt. So it's even more screwed up and even more messed up that but that alone should hint that like I said, that the being is a malevolent force, right? That this entity that lives inside of the noosphere and needs a carrier to be transmitted into the physical world, it's a malevolent force, right? If it needs pain, if it needs suffering, if that's what drives it and feeds it. Yeah, man. Movie brings up a lot of questions. Someone says there's a 7-hour great analysis of it on YouTube. Also Midsummer of Hereditary. Interesting. Yeah, well, I would also say that Hereditary is one of my most favorite movies ever. Someone says, Do you listen to Death Grips, Quinn? They have lots of references to cults. No, I don't actually know what that is. I don't know what Death Grips is. But I will say, so have you guys seen The Empty Man? If you have seen it, did you like it? And if you haven't seen it, did you like me talking about the movie and describing the movie? Or was that too much? Should I do more? Because we're still working out this whole live stream thing and what exactly the format is going to be. Did you guys like that whole thing with me, like kind of like going scene by scene and describing what happens in the movie and talking about it? Or would you rather like it that be more like, you know, I just like more generally talk about the movie in the future and just go into themes? You know what I'm saying? So like I want to know what you guys would prefer. So you liked it? It was good? Okay. I tend to overthink these things. I do. I tend to overthink these things. So format was great. You guys like it? Excellent. So that means we will be doing more of this in the future, because I can't really like watch a movie on here with you guys because then, you know, you get copyright and strike, but I can take screenshots and then just discuss what happened in the movie, you know. So it's kind of a way of giving commentary. And I think that way I can show you guys some of my favorite movies, because I like movies a lot, and this channel is more for books, but I also love movies and TV shows and all sorts of things. So you guys do like it. Excellent, 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 excellent. So that's good. And I did also have another movie that I kind of wanted to talk about, but I don't have screenshots from it. And also the movie didn't turn out to be that good. And but I might as well just talk about it. So there's another movie that I watched. Let me see if I can find I'll just find like a picture of. We won't go as into much detail about this one, but I'll at least tell you guys about it, and then you can decide if you want to watch it yourself, because it wasn't like amazing, but then, you know, it was fine, I guess. And let me just take that off screen, and then share screen, and then window, and you. There we go. This is a movie called Watch the Skies. And yeah, so what? Damn it! I don't even know if I want to talk about this. This movie is kind of fun. See, that's, oh god, I don't know. I guess I can just tell you what it's about. So it's like this Swedish organization that's investigating UFO phenomenon, and it's this girl that wants to find her dad because he went missing, he got abducted, yada yada yada, and it's basically them trying to hunt down UFOs the entire movie. I'd give the movie like a 3.5 out of 10. I was going to talk about it more in detail, but then as I was watching the movie and as the movie continued to go on, I got more and more like annoyed and bored by the movie. So like I just thought, and the ending did not land. And then like after I watched the movie, I then realized that the movie was like dubbed using AI into English. That I had no idea. I thought this was like a Swedish film, but they were just speaking English because they wanted to market towards American audiences. But then after the movie, I found out that the movie was actually dubbed with not exactly AI. They used some kind of combination of like real voices and AI to dub it into English. And I was like, what? I would have rather have just watched the Swedish version with subtitles and that. I had no idea when I watched it. And then also like I felt like the movie wasn't good enough. It wasn't good enough to even do that. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, I don't even know why I'm talking about this. This is a movie that I watched. I thought it was going to be good because I do love like UFOs and that type of thing. And the trailer also made it seem like it had more of a Spielberg vibe than it did. And then you watch it and then it kind of has a little bit of a Spielberg vibe, but then it's like everything done worse than everything before it. You know what I mean? It's got like the worst parts from E.T. It's got like the worst parts from Close Encounters of the First Kind. It's got like all of the worst parts from like all of the good movies that you know and love, but then just done lame. All right, so that's that movie. I don't know. I don't like to talk about things that I don't like, so you know I am. I don't really like to talk about things that I don't like, so we're just not going to talk about it. You can give it a try, and then maybe if you guys like it, then you can tell me what you guys think about it. Similar books to Hereditary. Books? Dang it. Books. Dang, I haven't read like a genuine horror book in a long time, like an actual horror book. I don't know. It's hard to say. Have you ever read the The Exorcist, like the Exorcist book, because the guy that wrote the Exorcist book, what was his name? William Peter Blatley, right? He actually like really, 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 really believed in exorcisms, like really. So when you read that book, it's kind of like his actual belief and like fear of like supernatural evil entities possessing people is kind of palpable. So that's a good book. It's been a while since I've read it, so you know. Have you seen the 2023 movie No One Will Save You? Yes, 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 yes. Everyone, you should totally watch No One Will Save You over Watch the Skies. No One Will Save You is that's a really good alien movie. And then also it's an alien movie that's also has a really human narrative at its plot line. I mean, at its core. So I really love No One Will Hear You Scream. No One Will Save You, I mean. No One Will Save You. Yeah, yeah, that's the one I thought. Yeah, it's got the girl and then aliens come and they invade the town. Yeah, that's a really, really good one. That's a really good one. I'm interested in seeing the new Predator as well. The new Predator movie, I hear that's pretty good. I haven't seen like the last several iterations of Predator. Do I like Jordan Peele movies? I do like Jordan Peele movies. I have not seen him yet, but I did like Nope. I thought Us was okay. I thought Us could have been better. I thought Us like could have, if he had like taken that script to Us and just given it like another chop, you know, just like another rewrite, then I think Us could have been way better than it actually turned out. But still like an interesting idea and concept. Someone says the new Predator is mid. Oh no. Oh, Nope. Yeah, I did like Nope. See, the thing, I have to watch Nope again because when I saw Nope initially, I think like a lot of people, I had this idea in my head as to what it was gonna be. Like this is an alien movie, but then it turned out to be like this much different type thing. The whole movie is like a big metaphor, and I actually have only seen it once, I think, and I enjoyed it, but I think I need to watch it again so I can really, really understand it better. Weapons. I love Weapons and Barbarian. Two really good movies. I love Weapons because I just think the trope of an evil witch that takes the kids in the town is just really cool, and I loved seeing the witch thing happening and not be super like cliche. And I also love Barbarian. Both of those are really good movies. Barbarian is great. Barbarian is absolutely fantastic. Okay. Yeah, I think I like Barbarian more than Weapons. I will say that. There was stuff in Weapons that like I was a little bit confused about. To me, I thought the metaphor with Weapons was like a school shooter metaphor, but then apparently the writer director of the movie said that it wasn't a school shooter metaphor, which made it even more confusing when like they show the assault rifle in the dream. So I was like, isn't that the metaphor? And then I like kind of asked about it on like Threads or something or Blue Sky, and then you know some people were getting mad at me and they were like, why would you think this is about school shootings? And I'm like, because it was about kids in a classroom like disappearing and no one understanding why this tragic event happened or how it happened. And you know there was like a literal like assault rifle that like was giant over a house in somebody's dream. Like it just seems like that's the metaphor, but apparently I'm crazy for thinking that was the metaphor. And it's called Weapons. Exactly. This movie is about school shootings. The movie is about school shootings. I don't know if like the person that made it is like too afraid to say that, but like it is. And I'm not trying to be like political. I don't know why like mentioning a school shooting is political in some people's eyes, because people were getting mad at me on Threads as if I was trying to be political about like talking about like the metaphor in the movie. I'm like, that's the metaphor of the movie. Like that's clearly what the metaphor is. And then also the kid that was ultimately responsible was from a broken home, right? Like so like I'm pretty sure that the metaphor for his like the witch coming in and his mom and dad just being there like all like catatonic and him having to feed them and them not really being present in his life was a metaphor for like addiction and just like bad parenting in general. And then it leads to him hurting the kids at his school. I don't know why that's not the metaphor. So I said that on Threads and some people got mad at me and I was like, okay, That's why I don't like Twitter and threads and stuff. Okay. Someone says the kid in the movie was a metaphor for Krieger's childhood. Interesting. Yeah, interesting. Yeah, I not broken home, because I think broken home like implies that the parents are divorced. But you know what I mean, just kind of a messed up situation, right? Like the witch kind of represents like this outside force that entered into his family and kind of like destroyed his parents, and so he's kind of left without parents. And then the witch tells him that, oh, if you want your parents to get better, you want the only way that you can feel better and the only way that you can get better if you sacrifice your classmates. So yeah, the ending of Weapons was great, and I like the idea of like I like the ending too. I like the ending. It was brutal, and it made sense. It made sense. I like the ending a lot, and I just like witch stories. Tell me, since we're on the topic of horror movies, I did watch a lot of horror movies this Halloween season. Here's one that I feel like I haven't heard a lot of people talk about. Bring Her Back. Did you guys see Bring Her Back? Because I think if you guys like weapons, you'll like Bring Her Back. It's also kind of like it's got the witch energy happening. But Bring Her Back, I felt, was way underrated and way less talked about. And it was from the same director, I believe, as the movie Talk to Me. But Talk to Me was one that didn't impress me as much. I thought Bring Her Back was better. Very brutal. Very creepy. So if you haven't seen Bring Her Back, check that one out. I think I got a super chat that I missed. You seen the new Frankenstein? I have not. I actually did see the new Frankenstein. And the new Frankenstein, we talked about it last week on stream. We did a whole review. So if you go back and watch my stream last week, there's a whole Frankenstein review happening. Oh, yeah. Yeah, the child actors in Bring Her Back were incredible. And two, Bring Her Back was one of those movies where I could not predict where it was going. I absolutely could not predict where it was going, and I was just like, holy crap. Every time it escalated, I was like, yeah. Just another thing, like if you have a tragic event in your life and someone dies, and then you somehow stumble across some ancient ritual to bring them back from the dead, don't do it. Don't do it. Just let the many years of horror writers and authors just be your guide. Sometimes dead is better. To quote Pet Sematary, sometimes dead is better. Like, because, you know, when someone's dead, they're dead. You can't bring them back, and what you bring back is not going to be what you put in the ground. It's going to be something else. It's going to be something else. Yes, it was the lady from Shape of Water in Bring Her Back, and she was really, really good. She's in... I feel like I've seen her in more and more stuff recently. Yeah. Absolutely. Someone says, there's a theory that Marcus from Weapons knew Tess from Barbarian. What's that theory? How does that work? Let me see, who's Marcus in Weapons? Oh, okay. So why does he know Tess? Oh yeah, the scene with the gay couple, the teacher or principal or whatever, that was brutal in Weapons. Like, but also like, I don't know. If I was a witch and I had magic powers, I'd probably be super evil too. You know what I mean? If I could actually do magic stuff, like just, I don't know. I feel like the human impulse would be to be really evil. And to just like, you know, I mean, because I'm a witch. Like, you're just a regular human, so I can do witch stuff to you. I don't know. All right, it's past midnight in England. We'll see you later. See you later. Get some sleep. You get some sleep. Okay, yeah. Yeah, I didn't take any more notes. We were just going to talk about Pluribus and the Empty Man and It Welcome to Derry. And then Watch the Skies was kind of a bonus, but then I only took like a few notes because I kind of like didn't liking it, even though I was planning on covering it for the live stream, so you know. So it happens. Hooray, making a Quinn live stream. Yeah, thanks for coming. Thanks for coming. Have I seen Late Night with the Devil? I saw Late Night with the Devil in theaters like the week it came out. So yeah, I did see Late Night with the Devil. It was pretty good. Pretty good. Yeah, pretty good. I honestly, my only thing was, I need to watch it again. It was pretty good. I don't need to criticize everything. It was just like the concept was kind of like there was too many like behind the scenes clips. You know what I mean? Because if the premise was this is like an episode of the show that like never aired because like something crazy happened, why do they have all of these like clips of them behind the scenes? Like why is the camera still rolling? That's not yeah. Murderbot. I love Murderbot. Really good show. I started reading the books. I've read like 3 of them so far. I love them. They're really funny. Definitely watch the Murderbot show, guys. If you just need to decompress, and you don't want something too serious, Murderbot. Murderbot. Murderbot's really good. It's got one of the Scars guards in it. And the book is really good. Well, the books are very short too. So you could just like read them super quick. Yeah, I like them. I like the Murderbot books. Someone says, people act like they wouldn't act like Light in Death Note, but they totes would be like... I kind of agree, bro. I think like the power to like... I think that actually having power over life and death and over other people like that would make most people evil. I really do. I really do. Especially like... Let's just say there's like a family of like witches and they've been witches for a really long time. And you're like raised a witch and you're like raised with magical powers, bro. You're not gonna you're gonna see regular people as less than you. You just are. Like I can levitate shit. Like I have magic powers, and you're just a regular person. I mean, you're not gonna. Yeah, I don't know. Check out The Summer Hikaru Died. Oh, it's a manga series. Oh, there's a show too? Okay. So, 6 months, Hikaru vanished. Now his best friend, Yoshiki, senses something amiss and confronts him. The harrowing truth emerges. Wait, have I... Why do I feel like I read this? Did I like read some of this? Or am I thinking about something else? Yeah, because there's that... Is this... Because I feel like I was reading a manga where there was, like, this guy who, like, disappears and then he comes back and his friend doesn't think it's him. Is that this? I'm pretty sure that's this. Do I have... I might have started reading it in the bookstore and then just never got around to it because I totally... This sounds so familiar. Yeah, that sounds really familiar. Yeah. Let's see. Yeah. Well, I just think that, like, yeah. Like I was saying, like, ultimate power corrupts people. I think having, like, absolute power over people is going to corrupt most human beings. I think it's just human nature. I think most people have a dark side. Like, everybody has a dark side, I think. It's just, like, there's, like, a human balance. And I think that, like, if you have all that power... It's going to be really hard not to lean into the dark side. And that's the point of, like, the Lord of the Rings, you know, with the ring, is that the ring is going to, like, call to your darkest side. The ring is going to call to your darkest side. Someone says, wizard what books? What are you talking about? Are you asking for good wizard books? Good wizard books. Earthsea, Ursula K. Le Guin. Incredible. You've never read Ursula K. Le Guin, Earthsea? I think it's from, like, I don't know, it might be from the 70s or 80s, I don't know. But it's really, 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 really good. Oh, no, he was talking to Wizard of Cause. Okay, never mind. But still, that's the recommendation. That's the recommendation. Yes. Danish. Power attracts the corruptible. Frank Herbert. Yeah, I forget exactly what the exact line is. But yes. It's not that power corrupts, power attracts the corruptible. But then again, I think it's arguable that most people are corruptible. So, yes, Jung's concept of the shadow, absolutely. Alright. So I think that since I don't have any more notes, and since we kind of got through all of that faster than I was expecting, because I have like 8 pages of notes here, but that includes Watch the Skies, which we didn't really talk about. I think that we're gonna wind the stream down so that I can finish my Area X video, which was supposed to come out last weekend, but I'm still working on it. Yeah, so Area X video coming out. Harder. See, I always underestimate the amount of time that it's gonna take for me to make a video like this, because it's just like, oh, I can totally get through this entire thing and put it all together like in this short time frame, but then it, you know, obviously it's a lot. It's so much. But yeah, it's almost done, so that'll be up this weekend for sure. And yeah, I hope you guys are having a great week. And please like the video if you've been watching and you've enjoyed the stream. What's on my display? What's on which display? Oh, because you can see the screen and the poster behind. Yeah, I just pulled up the summer Hiraku died. I was just reading about that. And then you got my notes right here, and then you got the StreamYard page. Yeah. So, yeah. The wall one? Oh, that's a poster of Megan Thee Stallion. No one's ever asked what that poster is. And I bet no one expected it to be a poster of Megan Thee Stallion, did you? No. There's a lot that you don't know about me. There's a lot. Oh, you mean this display? This is just like an Alexa. I don't know. That's an Alexa. That's a poster. Okay. No stream, don't end. Yeah, I really do need to finish. I do really need to finish my Area X video. What is weapons RP? Okay, I will look it up. Weapons. Alright, so what is this? Warner Brothers just launched an ARG website for the upcoming movie and weapons. Here's funny details I found. I don't even understand what this is. Alternate reality game? Oh. Okay, I gotcha. It's like some kind of viral marketing, like what they did with the Blair Witch Project and such. I wasn't like old enough, and I didn't have access to the internet back then when the Blair Witch Project was coming out. But yeah, I get what you mean. I heard that in the winds that they were gonna do like a prequel to Weapons, which could be interesting because I would love to hear like the origins of, you know, the witch lady and how she started doing magic and like what's exactly going on with her. So that'd be cool. Yeah, viral marketing campaign expands. Okay, that's interesting. I like it. I like the idea. And Weapons was super surprising to me because I don't know, I thought it would be some alien stuff. I thought it was going to be like Alien or something, but it then turned out to be something different, so I liked that. But as I said, we got to wind down the stream. I got to do some stuff. Thank you guys for watching. Please hit the like button if you've enjoyed the stream, and hopefully that was entertaining. We'll do another stream next week. Pluribus episode 4. Welcome to Derry episode 5. Whatever else I want to talk about. Feel free to leave suggestions in the comment section after the stream is done. I gotta run. Peace out, guys. You guys have a brilliant week. Stay kind. Oh, and I wanted to say thanks so much, guys, for all the nice comments on my update on the community page. You know, we want to keep like a nice community, and I appreciate everyone for all the nice, wonderful comments that I got. Of course, there was a few people that wanted to test me, and those few people got blocked, certainly. But just in general, great response from you guys, and yeah. And also, Martin Krog, Primer is a great movie. Primer is a good movie. It's a great time travel film. Very simple, independent movie. It might be on Netflix. Way back in the day, it was on Netflix. I don't know about now, but good movie. All right, guys. Peace out.